Alarms didn't just ring. They screamed like something dying. The sound tore through the excavation chamber, sharp and relentless, echoing off the black stone walls as red emergency lights snapped on one by one. The world turned crimson in an instant. Every surface, metal, glass, dust, bled into the same warning glow. Ethan Cole froze mid-step. His gloved hand hovered inches above the object embedded in the rock. His breath caught halfway in his throat. The scanner strapped to his wrist flickered wildly, numbers spiking so fast they blurred into static. "Ethan, step back," a voice crackled over comms. It was Dr. Victor Lang, his supervisor, trying, and failing, to sound calm. "Those readings aren't stable. That's not just residual energy. It's—" The feed cut into a burst of static. Ethan didn't move, because the stone beneath his hand had just shifted. Not collapsed. Not cracked. Shifted. Like something underneath it had pushed back. A faint, sharp crack split the air. Ethan's eyes snapped down. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, the way the red glow flickered, distorting shadows. But then he saw it again. A thin line, jagged and glowing faintly gold, spreading across the surface of the black object. His pulse pounded in his ears. "That's not possible," he whispered. Behind him, the rest of the team scrambled into motion. Equipment powered down. Boots scraped across metal flooring. Someone cursed loudly as a monitoring console sparked and died. "Seal the chamber," another voice shouted. Now, heavy blast doors began sliding into place with a grinding roar. But Ethan couldn't tear his eyes away. The object wasn't just any artifact. It had been buried deep beneath layers of obsidian rock, far older than anything humanity had catalogued in centuries. At first glance, they'd assumed it was a fossil, maybe a remnant from the Purge Wars, when dragons and humans nearly wiped each other out. But fossils didn't glow. Fossils didn't crack from the inside. Another crack split across its surface, branching like lightning. And then, it pulsed. A low, rhythmic thrum vibrated through the chamber floor, subtle at first, then stronger, syncing with something primal, something unmistakable. A heartbeat. Ethan staggered back a step. "No, that's impossible," he said, louder now, shaking his head as if denial alone could rewrite reality. "Dragons are extinct. They've been extinct for 1,000 years. As if answering him, the object shifted again. Dust cascaded off its surface as more cracks spread, each one glowing brighter than the last. The golden light intensified, pushing against the darkness, casting sharp, flickering shadows across the walls. The temperature dropped. Not gradually. Not naturally. Instantly. Frost erupted across the floor beneath Ethan's boots, racing outward in jagged patterns. His breath turned to vapor in front of his face. The metal railing beside him creaked as ice formed along its edges. "What the hell?" someone started. The lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Darkness slammed into the chamber like a physical force. Someone screamed. Ethan couldn't see anything anymore. No walls, no floor, no team. Just blackness. And then, light. He turned slowly, heart hammering so hard it hurt. The object was glowing. No, burning. The cracks had spread across its entire surface now, forming a web of molten gold lines against the obsidian shell. The light pulsed with increasing intensity, each beat brighter than the last. The air itself seemed to warp around it. Ethan took another step back, boots sliding slightly on the frost-covered floor. "This isn't real," he muttered. "This can't be real." But it was. Another crack echoed, louder this time. The shell split. A piece of it broke away, falling to the ground with a sharp, ringing sound that seemed too loud in the suffocating silence. From within, a blinding glow spilled out. Heat surged forward in a wave, colliding violently with the freezing air. The sudden clash made Ethan gasp, his skin prickling as if reality itself couldn't decide which extreme to obey. Something moved inside the shell. Ethan's breath hitched. He should run. Every instinct screamed at him to tame, to flee, to get as far away as possible from whatever was about to emerge. But he didn't. He couldn't. Because this was history. No, this was something beyond history. Another piece of the shell broke away. Then another. Each fragment hit the ground with a sharp, echoing clang, revealing more of the blinding interior. The glow dimmed slightly, just enough for Ethan to see. A shape, small, curled tightly within the remains of the shell. For a single, fragile moment, Everything went still. The alarms had stopped. The screams were gone. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Then the creature moved. A slow, deliberate motion, like something waking from a long, endless sleep. A clawed limb stretched outward, scraping lightly against the broken shell. The sound sent a chill down Ethan's spine that had nothing to do with the cold. "No way," he whispered, his voice barely audible. The creature lifted its head. 2 eyes opened. They glowed, not with simple light, but with something ancient. Away. Ethan felt it the instant their gazes met. Not curiosity, not confusion, recognition. The world seemed to tilt. For a heartbeat, for a single impossible second, Ethan wasn't standing in the chamber anymore. He saw skies filled with fire, wings stretching across endless horizons, cities burning, and then silence, loneliness, extinction. The vision snapped away as quickly as it had come. Ethan staggered, nearly losing his footing. The creature watched him, unblinking, waiting. The last fragment of the shell slid away, and as it did, the final truth settled in Ethan's mind, cold and undeniable. This wasn't a relic. This wasn't a fossil. This wasn't something humanity had discovered. It was something that had been waiting for him. Ethan's voice trembled as he took a slow, cautious step forward, unable to stop himself. "What are you?" The creature didn't answer. It didn't need to, because deep in his mind, something stirred. A presence. Ancient, powerful, and undeniably alive. The last dragon had hatched. The alarms returned, but different this time. Not warning. Counting. A steady, rhythmic pulse echoed through the chamber as the emergency systems rebooted one by one. Lights flickered back to life, weak and unstable, casting broken shadows across the frozen floor. Ethan groaned as consciousness slammed back into him. Pain followed immediately. His head throbbed, his lungs burned with cold air, and every muscle in his body screamed in protest as he pushed himself up from the ground. Frost cracked beneath his gloves as he moved. "What happened?" he rasped. Memory hit him in fragments. The egg, the cracks, the light, the eyes. Ethan's head snapped up. The chamber was in ruins. Equipment lay shattered, cables sparking weakly. The reinforced walls were scorched in some places and coated in thick ice in others, as if 2 opposing forces had collided and left their marks behind. And the team. They were down. Every single one of them. Dr. Lang lay near the control panel, unmoving. 2 technicians were slumped against the far wall. Another lay face down beside an overturned console. "Hey!" Ethan called out, panic rising in his chest. "Can anyone hear me?" No response. The only sound was that steady pulse from the alarms. And something else. A soft scrape. Ethan froze. Slowly, carefully, he turned toward the center of the chamber. Where the egg had been. Where the light had come from. It was gone. In its place stood a creature. Small, far smaller than anything the old records had described. It stood on 4 legs, its body sleek and lean, covered in scales that shimmered between deep crimson and molten gold as the flickering lights caught them. Its wings were folded tightly against its sides, not yet fully formed, the thin membranes catching the light like living fire. Its tail curled slightly behind it. And its eyes were locked on him. Ethan's breath caught. "Okay," he whispered, forcing himself to stay still. "Okay, you're real." The creature tilted its head slightly, as if studying him. Not like an animal, like something thinking. Ethan's hand moved instinctively toward his belt, fingers brushing against the emergency flare clipped at his side. His training kicked in. Unknown organism, potential threat, maintain distance. The creature's gaze flicked down to his hand, then back up to his face. Ethan froze. It had understood that. A slow, cautious step. The creature moved toward him. Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. "Easy," he murmured, though his voice trembled despite his efforts. "I'm not going to hurt you." Another step. Closer now. Close enough that Ethan could see the fine details of its scales, each one edged with a faint glow, like embers beneath the surface. Close enough to feel the heat radiating from its body. And yet, at the same time, the air around it carried a biting chill, like standing between fire and ice. The creature stopped just inches away from him. For a moment, neither of them moved. Ethan swallowed hard. "Yeah, this is insane," he muttered under his breath. The creature leaned forward. Ethan tensed, every muscle coiling, ready to react. Its mouth opened. Ethan's grip tightened on the flay. But no fire came. No attack. Instead, the creature gently pressed its forehead against his chest. And the world shattered. Light exploded behind Ethan's eyes. He gasped as something slammed into his mind. Not a thought, not a memory, but a flood. Endless skies. Storms of flame. Mountains that moved like living things. Dragons. Hundreds of them. Thousands. He saw them soaring through clouds, their wings blotting out the sun. He felt their power. Raw, overwhelming, ancient beyond comprehension. Then, war. Fire raining from the sky. Human cities burning. Weapons tearing through scales and bone. Screams, human and dragon alike. Loss. So much loss. Ethan cried out, clutching his head as the images intensified. Stop, please, stop. But it didn't stop. The visions shifted. The dragons were fewer now. Weaker. Hiding. A great silence falling over the world as they vanished, one by one, leaving behind nothing but myths. Nothing but ashes. And then, darkness. A single point of light in the void. An egg. Alone. Waiting. Time passed. Years. Decades. Centuries. Still it waited. For something. For someone. Ethan's breath hitched. No, he whispered, though he wasn't sure if he was speaking aloud or within the vision. Not me. The darkness stayed. The light grew brighter. And then, a voice. Not heard. Felt. Deep within his mind. Resonating through every part of him. Ancient. Powerful. Unyielding. Mine. The word hit him like a shockwave. Ethan screamed. The light collapsed inward. The visions vanished. Reality came crashing back. He dropped to his knees, gasping for air, his hands trembling violently as he tried to ground himself. What was that? He choked out. The creature stepped back slightly, watching him, waiting. Ethan looked up at it, his vision still swimming. You did that, he said, his voice hoarse. You showed me all of that. The creature blinked slowly. Then, cautiously, it took another step closer. Ethan flinched, but this time, he didn't pull away, because he felt it now. Something inside him. A presence. Faint, but undeniable. Like a second heartbeat. In sync with the creature's. What did you do to me? Ethan whispered. Before the creature could respond. If it even could. The alarms changed again. A sharp, piercing tone cut through the chamber. And then a mechanical voice echoed overhead. Biometric anomaly detected. Unknown energy signature confirmed. Bond established. Ethan's blood ran cold. Bond, he repeated. The word barely left his lips before the chamber doors, sealed just moments ago, shuttered violently. A heavy impact slammed against the other side. Once. Twice. Metal groaned. Ethan's head snapped toward the doors. What the hell was that? Another impact. Stronger this time. The reinforced steel buckled inward, cracked spiderwebbing across its surface. The creature beside him let out a low, rumbling sound. Not Faye. Not quite. Something else. Recognition. Ethan's stomach dropped. No way, he breathed. The doors exploded inward. A massive shape loomed in the smoke and debris beyond, wings partially unfurled, eyes burning with ancient fury. Ethan's heart stopped. Another dragon. And it was not alone. The transport never made it to its destination. It barely stayed in the air. Ethan felt it the moment they lifted, something crawling beneath his skin, that same second heartbeat inside him pulsing faster, louder. Across from him, Ignis sat inside a reinforced containment cage, its glowing eyes fixed upward. Not on the soldiers, not on the weapons, on the sky. Something was wrong. Altitude stable. The pilot's voice crackled. Course locked. Etta. Static swallowed the rest. Marcus Hale's head snapped up. Repeat that. Silence. Then, a sound. Low, distant, ancient, a roar. It rolled through the air like thunder, deep enough that Ethan felt it in his chest. Ignis reacted instantly. Its body tensed, wings twitching as a low growl built in its throat. The temperature inside the transport spiked, then dropped. Frost spread across the metal floor as soldiers scrambled back. What is it doing? One shouted, raising his rifle. Stand down. Marcus barked, but even he sounded uncertain now. Ethan stepped forward despite the restraints biting into his wrists. Stop pointing guns at it, he snapped. You're making it worse. Ignis let out a sharper cry. Not anger. Faye. Ethan felt it like it was his own. It's scared, he said, breath catching. Marcus frowned. Scared of what? The answer came immediately. The transport lurched violently. Brace, the pilot yelled. Too late. Something slammed into the roof. Metal screamed as it buckled inward. Bolts snapped loose. One of the engines exploded in a burst of flame, sending the entire craft spiraling sideways. Chaos erupted. Soldiers were thrown from their seats. Equipment ripped free. Lights flickered wildly as the transport lost control. Mayday! Mayday! The co-pilot shouted. We're under attack. Another impact. Stronger. The roof tore open. Wind and sunlight flooded in. And a shadow. Massive wings stretched wide, blotting out the sky. Ethan's breath hitched. No, they are not gone. The dragon above them roared again, its body enormous, far larger than Ignis. Its scales were dark, almost black, streaked with glowing blue lines that pulsed like lightning. Its eyes locked onto the transport, locked onto Ignis. It wasn't attacking randomly. It was hunting. Ignis, Ethan said slowly. It's here for you. Ignis backed into the corner of its cage, energy flaring wildly around it. The ace shimmered as if reality itself was bending under the pressure. Marcus cursed. We take it down before it tears us apart. No. Ethan snapped. That thing out there is the real threat. The dragon struck again. Its claws ripped through the side of the transport, tearing reinforced metal like paper. A soldier was yanked screaming into the sky. Gone in an instant. The transport dropped. Fast. We're losing control, the pilot yelled. Ethan's mind raced. This wasn't just an attack. They're trying to take Ignis, he realized. Marcus grabbed his collar. Then we don't let them. You don't get it. Ethan shot back. If it wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. The dragon's massive head forced through the torn opening, jaws snapping, eyes burning, not just with rage, but something sharper. Purpose. Ignis screamed. And everything changed. Ethan felt the surge before he saw it. Energy exploded outward. The transport shattered. Metal ripped apart as a shockwave blasted through it. Ethan was thrown into open air, the world spinning as gravity took hold. Then, he was falling. Wind roared past him as the ground rushed up. Debris tumbled all around, twisted metal, broken gear, bodies. Above him, the massive dragon circled, waiting, watching. This is it, Ethan thought. Then, warmth. A sudden force slowed his fall. Ethan's eyes widened. Ignis. The small dragon was beside him, wings fully spread now, larger, stronger than before. Its body glowed brightly, energy pouring off it. You're flying. Ethan gasped. Not flying. Holding him. The air itself resisted around them, slowing their descent. But Ignis was struggling. Ethan could feel it. The strain, the effort. You can't keep this up, he muttered. A shadow swept over them. The larger dragon dove. Fast. Ignis, move. Ethan shouted. Ignis twisted mid-air, barely dodging as massive jaws snapped shut inches away. The force sent them spinning. Ethan clung to Ignis as they tumbled through the sky. This is insane. The dragon circled again, then slowed. Its head tilted. Its eyes narrowed. Not in anger. In confusion. Ethan followed its gaze. Toward him. Understanding hit hard. It's not just after Ignis, he said. His stomach dropped. It's after me too. Ignis growled low, protective. The larger dragon hovered now, watching them, studying them, as if trying to understand something impossible. Ethan met its gaze, heart pounding. You feel it too, don't you? The bond. The connection. The reason everything had changed. The dragon let out a deep roar. Not an attack. A call. The sky answered. More shadows appeared. More wings. More dragons. Ethan's blood ran cold. Oh, that's bad. Ignis pressed closer, energy flaring. But now it wasn't just Faye. It was defiance. The war hadn't begun yet. But it was coming. And somehow, Ethan was already at the center of it. They hit the ground harder than Ethan expected. Not a crash, but close enough. Ignis faltered in the final seconds, its strength giving out as they dropped the last few feet. Ethan rolled across rough ice, pain flaring through his shoulder as he skidded to a stop. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. The world spun. Smoke drifted through the air from the wreckage scattered across the valley. Twisted metal burned in small, scattered fires. The distant echo of collapsing debris filled the silence. Ethan pushed himself up, coughing. Ignis. A weak sound answered him. He turned. The hatchling lay a few meters away, its body dimmer now, the brilliant glow from before reduced to a faint pulse beneath its scales. Its sides rose and fell rapidly, each breath strained. Relief and fear collided in Ethan's chest. He staggered over and dropped beside it. Hey, stay with me, he said, his voice rough. You did good. You saved us. Ignis's eye flickered open. It looked at him. And despite everything, the chaos, the pain, the impossible situation, Ethan felt it again. That connection. Still there. Still strong. I've got you, he whispered. A crunch of boots on gravel broke the moment. Ethan snapped his head up. Marcus Hale emerged from the smoke, his uniform torn, a shallow cut running along his temple. He held his rifle ready, but lowered, not aimed. You alive? Marcus asked. Barely, Ethan replied. It's hate. Marcus's gaze shifted to Ignis. For a moment, something unreadable crossed his face. Not fear, not anger. Understanding. That thing saved you, he said quietly. Ethan let out a dry laugh. Yay. Funny how that works. A distant roar echoed across the sky. Both men froze. Marcus looked up first. We don't have time. That dragon, and whatever else is coming, they'll be here soon. Ethan nodded, though his eyes stayed on Ignis. Then we move. But carefully. Move where? Marcus shot back. Everything's compromised. Command will already be mobilizing. Exactly, Ethan said. Which means we don't go back. Marcus stared at him. You're suggesting we go rogue. With that. That thing is the only reason we're alive, Ethan snapped. And right now, it's the center of something bigger than both of us. Ignis stirred slightly, a faint growl rumbling from its throat. Marcus exhaled slowly. All right, say I believe you. Say I don't put a bullet in it and call this contained. What's the plan? Ethan hesitated, because he didn't have one. Not a real one. But then, a flicker. Not a memory. Not exactly. More like a direction. He blinked, disoriented. I think it showed me something. Marcus frowned. Showed you? When it connected to me, Ethan said, pressing a hand to his chest. There were images. Not just the past. Something else. A place. What kind of place? Ethan looked toward the distant mountains lining the horizon. Jagged. Ancient. Untouched. There, he said quietly. Marcus followed his gaze. You're kidding. I wish I was. Another roar echoed, closer this time. Ignis reacted instantly, struggling to push itself up. Its wings twitched weakly, but it couldn't fully stand. Ethan moved to support it, slipping an arm carefully beneath its neck. Easy. You don't have to move yet. But Ignis insisted. It forced itself upright, unsteady but determined. Marcus shook his head. That thing's tougher than it looks. Ethan managed a faint smile. You have no idea. A shadow passed over them. All three looked up. High above, circling against the clouds, the massive dragon from before had returned. And it wasn't alone. More shapes moved in the distance, larger, smaller, all circling, watching, waiting. They're tracking us, Marcus said grimly. Ethan nodded. Not attacking. Not yet. Ignis let out a low, warning sound, its body tensing despite its weakened state. Ethan felt it too. Something shifting. Not just in the sky. In everything. We need answers, he said. Now. Marcus gave a short, humorless laugh. And you think we'll find them in those mountains? I think, Ethan said slowly. That's where this was always meant to go. Marcus studied him for a long moment. Then, reluctantly, he slung his rifle over his shoulder. All right. We head for the mountains. Ethan adjusted his grip on Ignis, helping guide the hatchling forward. Stay close, he murmured. Ignis's glow pulsed faintly in response. They began to move. Behind them, the wreckage smoldered. Above them, dragons circled like storm clouds. And ahead, the mountains waited, ancient, silent, holding answers buried long before humanity ever understood what it was fighting. As they walked, Ethan felt the pull again, stronger now, clearer. Not just a direction, a purpose. Marcus broke the silence as they climbed over a ridge. You ever get the feeling we're walking straight into something we're not ready for? Ethan didn't hesitate. Yeah, he said. Another distant roar echoed across the sky. Ignis's glow flickered, then steadied, and somewhere deep within Ethan's mind, that presence stayed again. Watching, guiding, waiting. Good, Ethan added quietly. Marcus glanced at him. Good. Ethan's eyes stayed fixed on the mountains ahead. Because whatever this is. His grip tightened slightly on Ignis as the wind picked up around them. It's been waiting for us too. And this time, they weren't running from it. They were walking straight toward it. They reached the mountains at dusk. The sky burned orange and red behind them, the last light of day casting long shadows across jagged stone. Up close, the mountains felt wrong. Not just ancient, deliberate, as if they hadn't formed naturally, but had been shaped. Waiting. Ethan slowed as a low hum filled the air. You hear that? He asked. Marcus nodded, scanning the cliffs. Yay, and I don't like it. Ignis stared beside Ethan, its glow pulsing faintly, then stronger. Step by step, it began to walk ahead of them. Hey, wait, Ethan called softly, but Ignis didn't stop. It knew where it was going. They followed it through a narrow pass, the walls rising high on either side until the sky became a thin line above them. The hum grew louder, deeper, vibrating through the ground beneath their feet. Then the path opened. Ethan stopped. Marcus swore under his breath. Before them stood a massive structure carved directly into the mountain, a circular gate of black stone, covered in glowing symbols that pulsed with the same golden light as Ignis's scales. This wasn't in any record, Marcus said. No, Ethan whispered. It wasn't meant to be. Ignis stepped forward. The symbols brightened. The hum became a roar. And then, the gate moved. Stone ground against stone as the circular structure split open, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Warm light poured out, washing over them. Ethan felt it instantly. That presence. Stronger than ever. Come on, he said. They stepped inside. The chamber was enormous, far larger than anything the exterior suggested. The walls curved upward into darkness, lined with countless markings, each one glowing faintly. At the center, a platform. And above it, light, suspended in the air, shifting and pulsing like a living thing. Marcus stared. What is this place? Ethan didn't answer. He couldn't, because the moment he stepped closer, the visions came back. Not chaotic this time. Clear. Controlled. He saw dragons, thousands of them, gathered in this very place. Not hiding. Waiting. Not for war. For a decision. Ethan staggered slightly, gripping his head. This is where they chose to leave. To leave. Marcus echoed. Ethan nodded slowly. They weren't driven out. They stepped away. Why? Before Ethan could answer, the light above the platform shifted, condensed, and then it spoke. Not in sound, in thought. Human. Ethan froze. Marcus looked around wildly. You hear that? Ethan didn't take his eyes off the light. Yeah. Ignis moved forward, stepping onto the platform. Its glow intensified, matching the light above. The presence deepened. Last of our kind. Ethan swallowed hard. You're with the dragons, he asked. We are what remains. Fragments. Echoes. Not bodies. Not fully alive. Marcus took a step back. This is insane. Ethan ignored him. Why did you leave? The light pulsed. To save you. Silence fell. Ethan frowned. That doesn't make any sense. The chamber darkened slightly as the light shifted again. And then, images. Not of the past. Of the future. Ethan saw cities again, but not burning from dragonfire. Falling. Collapsing under something else. Weapons beyond anything humanity had ever used tearing the world apart. Skies filled not with wings, but with ships. War. Total. Final. Ethan's breath caught. No. Your kind walks toward extinction. Marcus shook his head. That's not possible. It is inevitable. Ethan's fists clenched. Then why show me this? Why now? The light dimmed. Focused. On him. Because of the bond. Ignis let out a low, steady sound. The last hatchling has chosen. Ethan felt that second heartbeat again, stronger than ever. In all cycles, one human is chosen to decide. Marcus looked at him. Decide what? Ethan already knew, but he didn't want to say it. The fate of both species. The words settled like a weight on his chest. Ethan shook his head. No, that's not. I'm not. You are. The chamber trembled. A distant roar echoed, not from memory, from outside. Marcus turned toward the entrance. We've got company. Ethan looked back at the light. If I choose wrong, there will be nothing left to choose. Ignis turned its head toward him, eyes glowing brighter than ever. Trust. Not fear. Not control. Trust. Ethan exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. Outside, the sky darkened, not with night, with shadows, dragons, and something else. Distant shapes moved beyond them. Sharp, mechanical. Ships. Human fleets. Marcus stepped beside him. Looks like both sides showed up. Ethan gave a hollow laugh. Yeah, perfect timing. The ground trembled again. The war was here. Not coming. Hey. Ethan looked at Ignis, then at the light, then toward the entrance, where two worlds were about to collide. This isn't just about dragons, is it? He said quietly. No answer. He didn't need one. He stepped forward. Heart pounding. Time running out. Two species. One choice. And somehow, it all came down to him.